Well, hi everyone. Uh, my name is Jonathan Schwartz, and I am so honored and touched to be here. My background is it, can you hear me okay?
Oh,
I see a little speaker. Is this better? Okay. I'll try and talk as loud as possible. Okay, can you hear me? Yep. My name is Jonathan Schwartz.
for your speech.
Absolutely, and I think it's recorded through the Tierra Santa Village.
On our YouTube.
Can I have a copy of?
It'll be on our YouTube page, and you can get that through our website.
Okay, thank you.
My background is in the field of aging. For the past 20 years, I've worked and tried to help older adults here in San Diego navigate what I like to call our society has created a maze of aging. And so over the past 20 years, I have had the opportunity to speak to a lot of different groups. And I got one of my last presentations, I got to my speech a little bit early, and there was one man that was greeted me right when I came there. And I was talking to him, and this is a very large audience, and I was sharing with him, I don't know why I feel a little bit nervous right now. This is an old man. He was 93, 94 years old. And he looks at me and he said, I've got some advice for you. And I wanted to share his advice, what he said. And his advice to me to ease my nerves was just don't fuck this up. And so now every time before I give a presentation, I think about that. So I'm going to try really hard to honor this man. As I mentioned, I have been in the field of aging now for 20 years here in San Diego. You're supposed to say, how is that possible?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Um, the I've not really. No, I've got less hair and all the. Today's presentation is going to be about my observations over the past 20 years of people aging well and then people who have struggled more and some of the patterns that I've seen over that 20-year period. A cartoon to start us off, old man says, I'm over the hill, doctor. Well, that's much better than being under it. Another cartoon, you've aged well. And the old man says, thanks. And she said, I was talking to the wine. Last one. Oh, getting old isn't so bad, except maybe for a little forgetfulness. So this is going to be interactive, hopefully today. Quick show of hands. How many of you have helped a parent navigate aging? Navigate aging. How many of you have helped a parent as a care? Did you care for an aging parent? So most of you here. How many of you hope to stay in the home that you're living in until the very end? So how many of you now have a plan actually written out about how to do so and who might be caring for you? A few. Come on in. Yeah.
Your slide's supposed to be.
Oh my gosh, you didn't see all the best parts. Okay, this is the cartoon that was a. Thank you. And then this is the funny one. I'm moving on my computer like you can see this. So part of what we do, part of the work I do at Partner in Aging is we help people come up with a plan. And so at any point after the presentation, I see my wonderful associate Gabby's here as well in the back. Come to one of us and schedule that. We call these living room visits. And so I'm happy to discuss what that looks like at any point with you. Over the years, as I mentioned, there's a bunch of what we say versus what is actually happening. So what we say is I'm fine. What we say is I don't need help and I'll deal with it later. Does that sound familiar? What's actually happening is as we get older, our routines start to shrink. There's certainly a lot less movement. And can anyone else relate to this? Sometimes there's more stress, but we don't like to actually admit that. So, quick exercise for you. Close your eyes for just a second. I want you to think about your future self. Don't fall asleep, so it's just a second. What, think about this. What matters to you most in 10 years? Okay. If anyone's willing to share that, I'm curious.
My health and being able to play soccer.
Health and soccer, love it.
But you're still alive.
You're still alive.
Get out, like, fun things, activities, still be physically strong.
Absolutely.
See a granddaughter graduate from high school.
Oh, so an event.
Here's my problem. I cancel my DMV license. I have not done anything wrong.
So we got to get that back for you.
Now, let me tell you, I am as healthy as anybody else. I can see you, I can read what you're talking, or I don't have any problem. I can walk. I'm a veteran.
Let's talk afterwards, sir. I can help you.
What can you do for me to help all other people who look to DMV because they get old like me?
Yeah.
Can I sit down? I can speak better if I stand up. I'm struggling with going to get my food, to go to my church, because I don't have a driver's license. I depend on everybody else who can pick me up. So,
let's
DMV does the robotics, the one that doesn't have any human sensation. I still have that human sensation or feeling. Okay, excuse me.
thank you.
Can you hear me? Can I plead my case to you?
Yeah, how about you?
No, the DMV has canceled my driver's license because they think I can no longer function. I can no longer walk.
But,
No, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm just trying to protect myself.
Thank you. We'll talk after.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So your future self, you're going to be driving. I see that.
I keep myself healthy.
Yep.
I follow everything they ask me to do.
So the future self, I encourage you all to think about that. Some of the answers here were wonderful. Okay. But a lot of people don't think about that, right? At any age, what is our future self? Everyone here, it seemed like, wants to remain where they currently are. So how do we go about increasing our odds to do so? What do you want your life to feel like in the next 5 or 10 years? Most people plan their finances, but very few plan their lifestyle. When I ask people this question, I don't hear bigger house or more stuff. Do you agree? In the next 5 to 10 years, you want less stuff. When does that switch? I've got a 6-year-old daughter and she wants more stuff.
see,
You gotta wait.
Get a bigger house.
Yeah. The things I hear all the time, I want more peace, connection, freedom, simplicity. Does that sound accurate with what you're thinking? Aging is not a medical problem. It's weird, right? Our society views it that. We've been trained to think that aging equals healthcare. Is most of your day spent at the doctor's offices? No. To some, it might feel like it. Aging is still you. It's your home, it's your routine, it's your relationships. Aging is a lifestyle design challenge more than a medical one. What actually derails aging? My my daughter, I've got three kids. My daughter, who's one now, she was born on the freeway driving down to the hospital. This was not our plan. And so this picture really resonates with me because I looked at some photos of myself about a year ago and I looked really good. And have you ever done this? Have you ever looked at a photo of yourself and thought, who is that person? Where'd that person go? It's happening more and more to me. Aging, what I've realized is really not one big event that happens though. It's small things that stack up quietly over time. And this is something that's really critical. Aging often starts with some form of isolation. The fact that you're here today, I'm not speaking to you, I'm probably speaking to a neighbor of yours or a family member of yours who's at home. Because what happens is, I've seen this time and time again, isolation leads to less movement. Less movement means less confidence. Less movement equals a greater chance of falling. And then there's fear, and then there's less activity, and the cycle of aging really starts. How many of you know someone that lives in a senior living community? What do they think of it? Eh,
Think about dinner.
they think about dinner. Do you know anyone living in one that's actually happy? They're glad they did it? Yeah. Um, in 20 years, I've been helping people age at home or helping people find the right senior living community. I've worked in senior living communities. I see people going in and out. There's now a whole new generation. The baby boomers are starting to move in. Here's what my anecdotal data says and what the actual literature states about senior living. There's problems, but people who live in senior living tend to age happier, healthier, and longer than those who stay at home. And I've seen this in my own life. Because technology really does a great job of enabling people to stay at home now. If you're not driving anymore, it's unfortunate, but there are options, Uber and Lyft. And if you're not driving anymore, you can still get groceries delivered to your home, or there's something called Amazon that still works. Technology is amazing, but what technology can't do is replace that human interaction. And what senior living provides is an opportunity for people to walk down a hallway or to sit in a dining room and to have those casual interactions. And for whatever reason, it's shown to be protective for our health. There are many people that age incredibly well at home. And if that's your desire, that's your preference, we certainly can help make that possible. But one takeaway here today would be to at least open yourself to the idea, maybe I would consider living in a community one day. I talk about senior living early, and I would encourage you to think about it early because a lot of these places have long wait lists. There's a place up in Carlsbad that's a 10-year wait list. I'm not kidding, and that's today. In San Diego County, it's really hard to build new senior living properties. Land is an issue. There's a place in Rancho Santa Fe that's trying to be built right now, but guess what? The neighborhood is rejecting building. And so they're delayed. And so it's hard to build more senior living in, let's say, California. But there's a growing demand of seniors that are trying to get into these properties. So my encouragement is to look and look early, even if there's just a 1% chance you'd ever consider moving. So the hidden cost of staying at home is we talk a lot about senior living. We don't talk about the cost of staying put. Have you ever seen someone where the house starts to become more like work rather than a source of comfort? Maybe a parent. People, I've seen this happen over the years. People can become a prisoner of their own home. So, I mean, a question to ask yourself is, does your home still fit your lifestyle? Homes are designed for the younger version of ourself often. Stairs, maintenance, and distance from things. It's not about good or bad, it's about the right fit. I sit in the living room of many people in their home, and sometimes I think, how do people do it? I mean, every day is like a risk of getting up and down the stairs, and there's clutter truly everywhere. Like a lot of times I'll go to someone's home and there's nowhere to sit. I can't even sit because there's just so much there. So there's three paths. If you're thinking about, if you're getting older, there are three paths to choose in terms of living. You can stay home. And as we get older, you can modify the house with support, and we can help you there, right? So is that from me or you that
Uh, it's your voice, my oversight on the panel.
is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So you can stay home. That's what most people want to do. Did you know that AARP did a study that's showing that 85% of people wish to age in place at home? And so we can help you find home modifications like stair lifts, toilet risers, a variety of special lighting to make it such that you can age in place at home. And then we can also help you find caregivers. A lot of times people, the only way to make it at home is to have a caregiver a couple hours a day or someone living in, and we can make that possible too. So that's one path. The other is to right size. If you don't want to move to a retirement community, but you're living in a big house that doesn't suit your needs anymore, you could downsize into maybe a single story home. And so I could help point you in the right direction there as well. And then the last thing we talked about is a senior living community. What do you think the average age today of someone moving and living in a senior living community is? 85, yeah. It's amazing. It's about 88 years old now that people decide to move in a lot of these assisted living communities. 20 years ago, when I first got into this industry, it was about 80 years. So just in 20 years, the average age has ticked up about 8 years. And that's great. That means more people can age at home for longer, which is wonderful. Does anyone feel like this cartoon right here? Remember the 20 extra years you added to your life through clean, healthy living? Well, these are them. Okay, so health equals more than your doctors. Doctors matter, but they don't control your daily life. Movement keeps independence. Is anyone familiar with that Blue Zone study? Blue Zone's it's a special on Netflix. There's an author, explorer, traveled the world, and he found 5 different places in the world where people are living longer and healthier than anywhere else. Okinawa, Japan, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Icaria, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, and there's even one here in stateside, Loma Linda, California. And there's these pockets where people live longer than anywhere else. And he wanted to explore and travel these places to figure out why that's the case. Why are people living longer and healthier? And he came up with 9 common themes. And the number one was movement. And I've seen this over the time. As a 40-year-old, if we stop moving a day or two, well, it's getting a little harder now to kind of restart that. But as a 70 or 80-year-old, it becomes even that much more difficult if we stop moving to restart. So keep moving every day. Another critical factor for health and longevity is, of course, nutrition. Did you see this year that the health pyramid has flipped? Well, foods that we once thought were good maybe aren't so much. Who knows what's good? But these cultures that this man this in the Blue Zone studied, they ate a lot of plants and plant-based proteins, which seem to be protective for our health. It's called the Blue Zone. And so I highly encourage you. The books are fascinating, and the guy actually wrote a recipe book that I use still to this day. Harvard did a study around what makes for a long, happy, healthy life. And in this study, it was one of the greatest longitudinal studies of all time. It was spanned over 80 years. And in the 1930s, a researcher took a group of poor kids from the inner city Boston, 19 years old. And he took a bunch of wealthy kids going to Harvard University at 19 years old and studied these two groups over the course of their life, 70 years. And every year they did how much money, every metric you can imagine, how much money they made, what their marriage was like, what they ate, how much they exercised. And the single biggest predictor for health and longevity after the 70-year study was relationships. The relationship that we have with our spouse and our siblings at age 50 is the greatest predictor of how long, if we're going to make it to age 80 or not. So if you're here and you're close to 80, you probably have a good marriage or a good relationship with your sibling. Another one that's incredibly important for health is purpose. One of the greatest achievements, I believe, over the last 100+ years has been longevity. Do you know what the average life expectancy here in America was in the year 1900? 126 years ago. What was the average life expectancy for a person born here in America? It's shocking. It's 47 years old. Do you know what it is today? 77, 79, depending on male, female.
Yeah, and Jonathan, and the average number of kids was 8.
The average number of kids was 8. And so over that 100-year period, we have added on average an extra 30 years of life. That's the greatest achievement I think we've had in the last 100+ years. The challenge with that is, as a society, we're still trying to figure out what's the purpose for the extra 30+ years. In Japan, they feel so important about this word. It's called ikigai, which is the reason I wake up each day. And it's a little easier for young people to wake up. My kids, they go to school, and I wake up, I go to work. But when the kids are out of the house and maybe you're retired, what's that thing that gets you up each day? Coffee? Bathroom? Oh. I know it's really important. The seniors that tend to do the best have the best in my opinion, what I've seen, have the best attitudes, show optimism, and show a lot of purpose to their day. One epidemic that we're facing all over the world as it relates to older adults is this idea of loneliness. And I don't know how they figured this out. Loneliness is the new smoking. Did you somehow feeling chronically lonely on a day-to-day basis is as bad for our health as smoking a pack of cigarettes every day? I don't know how they figured that out, but think about how many meaningful conversations you've had recently, how many friends you have that you feel like you could rely on. How much family. You know, Mark mentioned that people used to have 8 kids. It's a different world today. There's just a shortage. There's not enough kids and they live far away. And I fear that we're about to see loneliness at a scale in isolation that we've never seen before. Today's 80 or 90-year-old had on average 3 kids. Today's 60 or 70-year-old has on average 2 kids. And then in my generation, I don't even know if people are taking their pants off. Yeah, and they're chatting with Alexa. It, loneliness, like I mentioned, affects our physical health. And I know this is a human thing to feel loneliness on a day-to-day basis. I encourage everyone, and I encourage myself to put yourself out there as much as you possibly can because staying socially connected is as important, if not more, than eating vegetables and going to the gym and working out. How many of you have adult children? Adult children, yeah. So it looks like almost everyone here in the room. A lot of these living room conversations that I have, we invite the adult children in there. It's really important for the kids to understand what your wishes are. I'm really good at this. This is something I feel really strong about, that it's hard to moderate these conversations with older adults, right? If you have kids and you want to share with them kind of your aging wishes, you want to stay at home, do you have a DNR? What does that look like financially? So having a third party person to moderate that conversation has been shown to be helpful. My parents are now in their 70s, and so I thought this would be a really good time for me to have this conversation. I'm an expert with my parents. I wanted to know like what their wishes are. We've never had this conversation, and this is all I do on a daily basis. And we got to the financial part with my parents of the conversation. I couldn't wait to get to this part because I kind of want to know, like, can I retire at some point? Is this, my parents have never shared with me a thing about, money. And my dad said to me as we got to this part, your mom and I plan on skiing a lot coming up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? My parents have never skied in their life. I've known them. What are you talking about? You're 7 years. He goes, no, 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 not like down a mountain skiing. We're gonna SKI. We're gonna spend the kids' inheritance. And he thought it was really funny. I am still waiting to laugh. You don't want it. I've never met an older adult that says, you know what I want? I want my kids to worry about me. You know what I want? I want to be a burden on my kids. I've never met that. Your kids are not judging you for the most part. They're worried about you. Safety, emergencies, and obviously long distance. Your kids are thinking, what if, even if you're thinking I'm fine. Does that sound relatable at all? I would highly recommend having conversations with your adult kids around what your healthcare wishes are. Does anyone have kids that live local here in San Diego? That's great. This is not a promotion, but I feel so strongly about this program that we offer. And I wonder if anyone in the room is a member. Think about if your kids are not close by, or maybe they don't have the capacity to help. We started this program called a hospital advocacy program. And I feel so strongly about this that if you got to think about if something emergency happened and you got hospitalized, who would be there to help support you in that emergency? And so we created this program for which if you get hospitalized, I, a social worker, will be in the hospital to advocate for that member. Because you probably know if any of you have been hospitalized, hospitals are businesses first and then healthcare institutions second. And so if there's anything that we can do to help give you that peace of mind and security, knowing that if there was an emergency, we're here for you. But going back to the kids, some of the patterns that I've seen over the many years is I hear, I don't want to be a burden. There's a strong fear of being a financial or emotional strain on your kids. Parents, seniors may delay asking for help until things get serious, and they feel a lot of guilt around asking for that help. One of the things again, to age successfully here is to plan and to plan early. Most families wait too long. About 80% of the calls that we receive are emergencies, and about 20% are helping to plan. These decisions happen, or when emergency happens, stress occurs. Planning early turns pressure into partnerships. And as it relates to anything related to planning, anything related to moving to senior living, I hear this all the time. The idea of 5 years too earlier versus 5 minutes too late. I've never heard someone that moves into a senior living community that says, oh my gosh, I did this too early. I hear many people say, I wish I did this far earlier. So what are some of the red flags as it relates to staying at home? So one of those is using the home less. Sometimes I'll go into these big two-story homes and the person will say, oh, the only room we use is this tiny little space, but they have 3,000 plus square feet that they just never go to. That's a red flag. If we're driving less or driving becomes more difficult, that's a red flag that a downsize is needed. If you're just avoiding things or avoiding rooms, that's a red flag. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if the home is being too difficult to manage, that's a red flag. And then certainly falls. Falls are the biggest indicator of why someone goes to the hospital. If there's anything I can do to help avoid those falls, I'm happy to go through your home. There's no cost, and I'll give you that assessment. One thing that I want to make sure that we take away here is to have a lot of happiness and laughter. I've tried to embed that in the talk. Thank you for playing along with me. I really appreciate it. Um, I've given a talk here. I don't know if I know, I think Mark was here on humor and aging, and then I do a little stand-up comedy routine. And so if you belong to any groups that would like to hear that, I'd be more than happy to present. But I think our society, our culture needs a lot more laughter. And do you know that laughter is actually good for our health?
Well, Mel Brooks is 99.
Mel Brooks is 99 years old. It's good for us. Did you know that there was a reporter back in the 1960s that suffered from some autoimmune spine disorder, and it was extremely painful. And the best medicine at the time was essentially just painkillers. And so he was a reporter and journalist. He decided, you know what I want to do? Because I feel better when I'm with my friends and laughing. I'm going to stop this medication that had a bunch of side effects. I'm going to go to a hotel room and just watch comedy movies. And he reported after watching these movies for a day or two that by far the laughter from these movies was a better pain reliever than the actual medication. So really, laughter is medicine. Laughter lowers stress and it builds connection. We know that. It's one of the most underutilized tools in aging well. Some people ask me like, how can I build more laughter into my life? And I think the best advice I was ever given was to try really hard to say yes to more things, yes to more opportunities, because I think when you say yes, you're around more people and then funny things happen. So, I mean, I think I'd like to pose this to the group here. What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self about aging? I'd love to learn from you all if you have an answer here.
Start saving earlier.
Start saving earlier. What's it? Stay involved. You tell your younger self to stay involved. Positive attitude.
Hobbies.
Have some hobbies.
Keep moving.
Keep moving.
Take lots of naps.
Take lots of naps. I've asked this question to groups and I've never heard like work more. I've never heard that. I guess start saving, but work harder, look at your phone more. I've never heard that. Well, in our generation, you probably see this if you go out. You just are, yeah. So, what's one thing that you could do differently tomorrow? Call a friend. If you take home one thing, I would do this. I got this one friend. It's incredible. It's just an incredible person. He lives in Indiana. That's where I went to college. And twice a year for the last 20 years, two times a year, he'll randomly call me. We talk for about 10 minutes. And it's just the nicest thing I've ever seen because I would never call him. I would just never do that. I'm just not that person. I'm not that one that like actually initiates the phone call. But every time he calls, I actually look forward to answering. I encourage you to reach out. How about declutter one room? How fun does that sound? And I say this in my house. If you saw my house, you guys will take your own advice and then start a conversation. So what can you do now? Like as I mentioned, please feel free to come to me afterward if you'd like for me to come to your home and start these conversations with you, your family about planning for your individual aging self. I'm happy to give you options as it relates to staying at home or making a downsize. That's no problem. And then we can make a short, medium, and long-term plan. And so with that, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all today. I hope you came out of this learning something, and I'm going to be here for the next hour or so, and our booth is over in the other room. So thank you again.